today's guest is a founder and owner of the Box Manchester private PT gym. He created that 2 years ago. He's been in the industry for 7 years. He's worked commercially as a fitness coach, as a PT. Along that, he's also managed in a corporate gym. And he's done that all at the right young age of 23. Welcome, my good friend, Tom Brewin. How you doing, mate?
Hello, mate.
How are you doing? You good?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's, a bit weird, but yeah, I'm ready. Let's go for it.
Have you ever done anything like this before?
I don't think I've only really told like ex-girlfriends, like kind of story what's going on and that. That's about it. So I've not really kind of opened up about it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Hopefully you've got some Kleenex or something there in case it gets a little bit rough then, mate, if it's only girlfriend.
Yeah, I've got some anti-bac wipes and
got most of Manchester's supply, haven't you? Toilet roll, anti-bac, you've got the lot.
I'm ready for when we open again. I'm ready to
How's that affected you, or has it been nice? Has it been a struggle? What's it been like?
What, just with the gym closed and that?
Yeah.
If I'm going to be honest with you, I've kind of took it on the chin a bit and just relaxed in that. I've not really, you can let it eat you up if you like, but I just don't really see the point in doing so. It's in the bigger picture, it's not. It's a short period on the lifespan of business and that. So it's potentially there is bad repercussions of it, but it's I don't see the point in kind of just sitting about and letting it kind of eat me up and whatnot. So it's I've just been chilling really.
Just enjoying having the time to just do you pretty much.
When else do you get time until I'm 60 odd to be semi-retired? Do you know what I mean? So,
mate, it's a great shout that. Like you're kind of semi-retired at the minute.
Yeah, so when else are you going to get that opportunity? So you might as well just embrace it a little bit. And I guess it's time to think of new ideas. Like there's not really like much time when I'm running the gym where I can think, oh, I need this bit of kit, I need to have this is going to be better for members, this is going to be better for, so it's giving me time to think about how I can kind of upgrade the facility and upgrade the business really. So
yeah, have you had the overalls on, doing a bit of painting and that?
That's it, mate. I've done a bit of touching up, yeah.
So go on. Well, the podcast is just your journey from how you started, why you got into the industry, and why you got into what you was doing, into where you're at now, and running your own facility and gym. So take us back to the beginning, back to the start. What made you get into this industry in the first place?
You know what? Right, let me take it back. So I'm going on like I'm 43 here. Like when I wanted to get into fitness, my high school at the time, they weren't doing work experience, where some high schools were, there was like a period, it might have been in year 10 or something, where they say, we want you to go off and do work experience. So a lot of people went and worked for their dad or went and worked for whoever. Because I was like into sport and it wasn't necessarily like academic, I wanted to do this line of work. Back then, it wasn't as mainstream as it is now. Like, a lot of lads are doing it, like kind of girls with the makeup and lads with the PT. It's like a big, it's a lot of lads are doing it, a lot of people are into it. So back then, it wasn't as readily available. Like nowadays, you can do your fast track courses and stuff like that. And back then, you had to go through like a college route or do it as part of university. So there wasn't really an opportunity to get work experience. So luckily, that one of the local gyms that I used to go train at, I think it must have been about 15 at the time or 14. I just approached one of the PTs there. And I said, "Oh, are you taking on for work experience?" And he said, "No, we don't do that." And then at a later date, he, not too far after that, he said, "Actually, do you want to shadow me? Like, if you turn up here every Saturday at 6 in the morning till 12, and you can just shadow me clients." And that was with Mike Robinson. So, a big shout out to Mike. He kind of got me into it, and then he just had me shadowing his clients. Seeing what to do, showing me the ropes and stuff like that. And that kind of got me foot in the door to kind of be working at that gym as well, and going further from there, basically. So, yeah.
So when was it from that point for you to starting to get your qualifications, do your level 2, level 3?
So that was then after that, after kind of done that work experience, I was like, yeah, this is definitely what I get into. At the time, I was half in school and half in college, not even doing fitness. I was doing engineering. I was fiddling about plug sockets and all that. And then after, this is when I approached you on the gym floor, was it? Or maybe that might have been later on. But
yeah, it was on the gym floor when I was locking up.
Around then. So when I wanted to get into it, I was to and fro between schools and stuff, and then I think I had a chat with you in the gym floor. I was like, I'd love to work here. How does it work, type thing. And then when I found out, like, I had to kind of get my level 2 and 3 and stuff like that, and that's when I went ahead and enrolled at, can I say college names and stuff like that?
Yeah, crack on, mate.
We're enrolled at Hopwood Hall College in Middleton, and then started to do my level 2, which is obviously your gym instructor. And that's when, at the time, you could go into jobs at gyms where you could, pick up weights, do classes, clean it. That's about what level 2 kind of gets you, like kind of inductions and that sort of jazz. So, it kind of went from there, really, after speaking to, Martin, just going from there. And then I just needed a job. As soon as I got my level 2 when I was 16, or coming towards the back end of that, that's when I thought, you know what, I need to get a job. I think I might have even been part-time at Futsal and then something like that. But yeah, I just needed to get started, basically.
What was the main thing? Because obviously you said that you went in there, you did your work experience, you shadowed Mike, was it, that you mentioned? What was it really that jumped out and made you think, this is the one thing I want to do, this is where I want to be?
Do you know what it is? Not in a thingy way, but it is a rewarding job. You got to see, like, I was getting up at 6 in the morning till 12. Not for any money, not for any, like, I wasn't fussed about money. I guess I just wanted to I guess I haven't really seen it like that, but just to help the people. And then once you've helped them for a few weeks, you kind of develop that rapport with them, and you kind of on a mate level with them. So it's quite nice that, and I didn't really get that from other. Obviously, I was only young, so I haven't really had a lot of experience in much industries. But, like, it was the
Plug sockets don't really talk back, do you?
No, I've put a few forks in them, but they don't really do it. Like, it kind of went from there. But naturally, I'm from quite a self-employed background with my family. So they're into, like, buying and selling and stuff like that. Like, my dad used to do watches, used to sell, he used to do retail returns and stuff like that. So I'm kind of got a business kind of brain anyway, like getting something, getting rid of it, selling it, moving it on and stuff. But, like, it was the one thing, apart from being kind of a bit money motivated, that you actually got a second reward from, which was, like, people who obviously been thankful, or watching someone change, or watching someone, come out of an injury vet or stuff like that. So, yeah. Cool.
So you've gone in there as a level 2. You started as a fitness coach, is that right?
Yeah, so starting off as a fitness coach / instructor, and that's when I started to teach the classes in, like, a commercial. Did classes, picked up weights, did a lot of fuck off. No, I'm joking. But yeah, it was good. But do you know what it is? I used that learning curve, that kind of period. I don't know how long it would have been, maybe 2 years, something like that, maybe around that time, to just get me foot in the door and get an idea for the industry. Because you've got to understand, like, at the moment with the fast track courses, I'm not even too sure, but I think PTs can pass a course now within 6-8 weeks or something like that. So when I was doing the level 2 and the 3, which I don't know if it's unheard of now, I don't know if you can still do it this way, but it took me 2 years with having to do, mock classes, when we was in college doing exams, rather than it just being over the internet and stuff like that. They physically brought in, like, the local football team for you to work out, or they brought in a bus of, like, people from rehab and stuff like that, like, that you had to, teach a class to. So there was a lot more, I guess, learning involved in the process. So
it's more case studies then, isn't it, as well? Because I think that's something you see quite a lot, like you've mentioned there with some of the courses. obviously dependent on tutor and provider and whatever else, sometimes it's very much the case of let's get that paperwork done. This is how you might write a training program, but actually how do you then go and apply that to the individual? What are the considerations are there? How are they going to react to this stimulus? How am I going to review it? How am I then going to tweak it, change it, adapt it and move them forwards? So that period of time there, that sounds like you picked up quite a lot of that, and that almost cemented the direction you wanted to go with.
Yeah, no, of course. And it obviously helped with confidence as well, because, you know, it's one thing kind of like you said, writing a plan out for someone, sending it over to your tutor to mark and stuff like that. But when you're having to actually do the plan for, I think I actually took on a young lad for work experience, and he had to film he had to film him training his mate, you know, and then send it as a video to the exam board to pass his course, where I'd have to do it with someone with arthritis in the knees and has no experience in fitness. So you're having to adapt to a much harder situation when you first, it's a lot.
It's giving you the skills as then though, right? Like it's probably no secret that that's been your entry into the industry, and then you've been able to use those skills and use them with the guys that you've taken on.
Of course, yeah.
So you moved from there into a PT role in the same facility, or how did that work, mate?
Yeah, so the level two, I took the full year. There wasn't an ounce of, I guess there was how to kind of demonstrate and instruct someone. We had to know how to demonstrate and kind of teach someone through an exercise to a basic level for the fitness instructor to do inductions and stuff like that. There was a basic level of A&P, anatomy and physiology, involved, and some nutrition, but it wasn't until level 3 the next year that you kind of upskilled yourself to being a personal trainer. Luckily, the course that I did, it come with a lot of additional qualifications. So I think we was in college maybe 3-4 days a week, but it wasn't just like kind of how do you train a client, how do you train a cop, like level 3. It was, you know, it might be in a full topic of nutrition, or we did some strength and conditioning, stuff like that. So there was a lot of I forgot the name of the courses, or the MVQs, or there was like they're called now, like the smaller courses that you use.
Like CPDs, additional courses, yeah.
That's the CPD courses. A lot of those to complete along the way. So it's like when you come out of the level 3, you're a level 3 trainer with a list of, you know, CPD and X, Y, Z and stuff like that. So yeah, there was a lot of, it was a good quality course, to be fair. And I guess that's what helped me when I was, because I got my gym instructor qualification, gym instructor job to the boards, the back end of my level 2 course, because obviously I had to have that qualification to do it. And then whilst I was doing that job, I must have still been in college doing the level 3 qualification, and going from there basically. So yeah, it was a gradual thing. It wasn't like your instant 8-week up, but it was it worked out well.
Yeah. So how did you find going into PT then, mate, from there?
So at the time, within a commercial gym that I worked at, there was like a franchise of PTs working there basically, and that's where the fella who first kind of took me on, that's what he was involved in basically. He was a personal trainer for him, and when I was working as an instructor, it was always kind of a dream of mine to not be on a wage anymore. I just wanted to be independent and self-employed. I've always wanted to be that way. And, you know, when I was weighing up the options, you know, you've got a lot of things to take into consideration when you're looking at ways to go about being self-employed. So you've got potential overheads, who you're working for, who's, you know, even if you're self-employed, is there still someone above you, you know, kind of moving you like a puppet, telling you what to do, or are you left to do what you want? And that was the kind of thing I was weighing up. So the next step from being a fitness instructor for like a year and a half. But to tell you what, let me go back a little bit. When I was doing the fitness instructor, I started to tickle management a little bit, started to do a bit of that. So just basic things like being a key holder. At the time, the place I was working at had a swimming pool, so there was a lot of kind of operations involved rather than actual, you know, like kind of training or classes and stuff like that. So it was more ended up being a bit more desk based than actual, you know, kind of like
floor based.
We wanted to, yeah, gym floor based, yeah. So and that was the tipping point when I was in management, and I was thinking, do you know what? Like, this isn't for me. I don't like it, because not even for the pay or nothing like that. It was like you were given a shitload of responsibility, and you got not a lot back from it. And like, you know, you'd get that responsibility, and I think a lot of people may have this experience as well. You again, Martin, and you do something wrong, and it's on your head, and you think, and you can't be responsible for how other people work either. So if you're managing maybe people who aren't pulling the weight or whatever, that's not on them, that's on you when you're being in the management. And I just didn't like that role. And but the main thing was that took me away from doing what I loved, and that was gym floor work and what I signed up to do, basically. So
Do you think that was probably more so the reason then? So it was probably more a little bit of, right, I absolutely buzz off being on the gym floor, and that's my area, and I've got a little bit more control in there, and I know how to tweak and mess with the variables, whereas management is a little bit, I think at a young age as well, it's tough, isn't it, sometimes having to manage other personalities and whatever, if you've maybe not got experience or life experience or job role experience yourself. Would you say that was probably what tilted you more towards thinking gym floor, that's where I want to be, or my own space, that's where I want to be? What do you think?
yeah, I mean, well, the main reason, because at the end of the day, I didn't have to progress to kind of that management role. I wanted to do it for my own sake. One, for your CV, you know, it's always good to get something a bit higher responsibility in your CV. But the other thing was, it's always been a dream to run my own place, big or small. So, you know, that's a big example compared to managing now. But it does give you the basics in regards to, you know, kind of running like a premises, knowing the cost, knowing like maybe even budgets, knowing what you can spend. It does give you that experience. You know, if you took a P2 who's maybe not had that background in management, and then they're thinking, oh, I'm going to run my own place. There's a lot to it. Like in a nutshell, I do still PT. That is what I do. But when you've got like a premises and kind of future plans to build on that, and you've also got, I haven't necessarily got staff, but I've got like cleaner, and I've got like, you know, there's other things to kind of take into consider. I've got businesses that I also work with. So there's a lot more to it than just being a PT on a gym floor now. It's like a different, and I feel like if I didn't do that experience, I probably wouldn't know how to manage it as well as I do now. Yeah,
cool. Like, we see that a lot, don't we, mate? With people and PTs that we work with, you tend to hear that. That's almost like a lot of people think that's got to be my next step. I have to go and open my own facility. If I don't, I've not made it, or whatever else. And it's not always for everyone, because what you've said there is bang on. There's so much more behind the scenes that you have to think of, and that you have to take into consideration. How have you found that? Obviously, you've had your experience of being a manager and learning bits and looking at it, but now it's yours, isn't it? Now that
yeah, I guess. So. The annoying thing is, naturally, I'm a bit of like a control freak. So I'll talk about it further on, but like with the next stage of the business and expansion and stuff like that, the next step is me being back to that kind of management role and managing people again. And one thing I hate is kind of not trusting everyone, but like just, you know, they represent your brand as soon as they wear your uniform. So you can't be responsible for how they act, but you've got to have that, you know, you've got to kind of trust that when you're in Spain sunning it up, they're still training people and being nice and, you know, doing all the right things and whatnot. So it's gone mint. Well, yeah, what do you do? You asked me how it's gone. It's gone mint. Yeah, loved it. Yeah, it's. Sorry, I went off then, but yeah, it's gone mint. I wouldn't change it for the world. It's.
So let's go back a little bit now. So you've just made the decision to go into, well, talk about not making a decision, how you went into being a full-time PT from being a fitness coach. So what you did, what you juggled, and then an experience of your first client, actually taking payment for that first client that you've just took on. So go back to that time there and tell us.
That was the best day. Like like when obviously I got my first client, I'm going to go back after this anyway, but it's like if you ever sold something on eBay, or like you're putting something up for a bid and people are bidding on it and you're thinking, oh, sick. But yeah, it's just like that. But back to like when I was at the bigger commercial gym and I was doing my level 2 fitness instructor, I was weighing up the options on where I should work next to be a self-employed personal trainer. And it's probably like personal training isn't normally a job you'd find on a wage. So I know some gyms are doing it where they get paid a certain amount and they can PT as well, but it's not a case where you probably find, you may do, but you probably won't find a job where you're a PT getting our wage, because the work's got to be there at the end of the day. So I knew I had to be self-employed. I was just going about it the best way. So way one was to stay at the commercial gym I was at and work for the franchise that was already there. In a nutshell, the overheads were too high. I was weighing up the overheads with my old man. I was looking at how much it would cost. They had it on a scale, I won't go into depth too much, but they had it where every month the rent goes higher until it plateaus at like a limit. And then if I remember correctly, like when it gets that plateau, it might be 6 months down the line, they give you an option. So they'll say it'll be X amount a month, plus we'll take another % off each session, or you can pay a bigger bulk amount and then you're in the clear. And then that, I think that bigger amount was if you were doing around 120 sessions a month or something like that, which isn't a lot really. That's what is on a 4-week month, that's 30 a week, which isn't too many to be fair to hit. So that was my first option, and then my second option was obviously when Matt, when you moved to the other place of work, then I had the decision to make then, because they were offering it was like 15 hours of work, 5 3-hour shifts split up through the week in return for no overheads basically, which for a personal trainer is a dream really. It's starting off a business with no costs. That's unheard of. Like, for a start, opening this gym cost me X amount. So that was before I even walked through the door. So, it was a much better deal at the time to get myself going, especially with low capital, because the other place, whether or not you got a client, they were still going to be charging you. So, you had to have a bit behind you to get going with that one, obviously. So
yeah, I think as well, that probably leaks into a little bit almost the old-fashioned view of the industry, I suppose, that you've got to be hitting that 30 sessions or that 40 sessions a week to be successful. It kind of reinforces that, doesn't it, if that's what the model's built on? Because that's straight away how everyone would break it down, isn't it? It's going to go, right, that works out to this many sessions per week. The average person works 40 hours a week, so I need to hit 30 sessions, and then that's before they're even taking anything home, right?
Of course, yeah, of course.
It's mad, because I think, and especially over time, we've learned to work very, very differently in terms of how many sessions you actually deliver versus the service costs and the maybe additional products that are included in there. So you pick up a lot of stuff along the way that isn't then just focused on that hourly rate. But if that's how they've set it up, then it's probably no wonder that you thought, right, that's a massive overhead. Obviously I can go in here and I can initially all my business cost is going to be my time, so now I can build from there.
Yeah, I mean it is weird, because if you looked at those two options of how I've said it, like you'd think in your head, well, obviously you go for the one with no overheads, but like with that commercial gym with the pool and that, and like with the franchise, the great thing is they have a really good support network. So they're constantly upskilling themselves. That's included within your costs and stuff. So you're upskilling yourself. There's a great, one thing I will say is with that firm, is there's a great kind of community sense. Like you won't really get that in a lot of other gyms. And that goes with clients, with members, and with the team. Because with a lot of personal training teams, just from experience, it can be a bit dog-eat-dog type thing. And yeah, you get on with them on like a staff room level, but I wouldn't go out and chill with them and stuff like that. So like at the first place, like that was to take into consideration, whether I do go for that option in like the the other thing I was weighing up was the first gym that I was at. The area it was in was a little bit more affluent, so it's fair to say that there's a little bit more money floating about there, you know, for disposable income for personal training, whereas the other gym, you know, that there's a chance that there wasn't going to be, or the, you know, and plus with it, there was a difference between the two gyms. One was like a more, I don't know if you say upmarket, but the memberships were a little bit there. Obviously, it had a pool, it had a few more features, and the other one was more of like the budget gyms. So like, the argument there is, you know, I was weighing up whether, is it a good thing that it's cheap because people have more money left over for personal training, or is it a bad thing that it's cheap because that's why people use it, because they just want to go to a cheap gym and they don't need personal training. So there was two kind of angles to look at it. But obviously I went with option 2 in the end, which was the budget gym basically.
How did that all work out then, mate?
Yeah, so I'm just going to go back a little bit. So what I had to do was, because I was working at the time at the bigger gym, I was working like 40-hour weeks, and even more than that because it was like when I was in the management. So there was like, you know, you get to the end of your shift and they go, oh, so-and-so's not turned up, can you do an extra whatever? Even Martin will know this, like, they'd be like, oh, you know, so-and-so's not, can you just cover on lifeguard, can you cover on that? And you'd end up staying there your whole life and longer, just to, you know, it just happened, like. And there was a time where it was quite low staffed as well, so there was a bit of pressure in managing it with very little management team basically. You know, there wasn't a lot of people to go around, so so I'd say, you could even say maybe 50-hour weeks. And then, because I wanted to go self-employed, the deal at this other gym was to do 15 hours unpaid work in return for no overheads. And then on the top of that, that's when you can build your PT business. So then I was having to do them 15 hours on top of the 50-hour week, which was like a 65-hour week. And then any time I had in between to try and get a client in that gap, which was obviously quite hard, you know, it was quite hard. And then you've got the conflict of interest between the two gyms being at both places. So you live in like it's like having an affair, like you live in a life. so, but no, it was all right. It probably wasn't as bad, like in regards, I don't know, it probably would have been frowned upon if they knew I was working there, but I had to put myself first to build myself up somehow. I'd be really daft if I was to sack off a salaried job just to go self-employed, because that would just be a daft move. Like you know, it wouldn't necessarily work out for me. So that's why I had to do it that way. Which was a lot better.
How did you? Yeah, go on, mate. Go on, finish.
No, go on.
Yeah. So talk us about that first client.
Well, first client, yeah. So
you moved over to the commercial gym. Tell us about that first client. How did you get him? What was it like?
So I'll be honest with you, it's a bit mad because when I got there, you know, there's PTs. It wasn't. It was a different vibe to the other gym I was at. Complete, you know, it's a 24-hour gym for a start. It was a bit weird, kind of working unpaid. That, you know, until you understood it was for in return for no overheads. It was a bit weird at first. It was like, you know, you kind of like, where's your money type thing. You're doing all these classes where at the last gym you could even apply to have extra money for classes as a freelancer. So, you know, it was a bit of a different vibe. But going on towards my first client, I've got something funny to tell you actually. I remember I was in the staff room. This was after I'd worked there for a bit, yeah. And I'd probably say my first proper client, when you're there, when you get going, obviously you're asking your mates to come to the gym so you can look busy in training and like you can, and then you're speaking to as many, you're interacting as much as you can on the gym floor, you're ticking all the boxes. I mean, there was even a point where I was like, I might even sound like a bit crazy for this, but I'm not even bothered. But it was like you had to learn the people that you were speaking to on the gym floor. So there's a basic kind of way of getting to know people better. You know, have a chat with someone, get a name, just say, you know, you're into football. Try and find like a common ground with that person. And then next time you see me, you go, oh, mate, did you watch the game on Saturday? Mate, I don't even watch football. But it's just, you know, getting that rapport with that person. Do you know what I mean? Having something common to talk about rather than just approach them going, yeah, do you want me to show you a squat type thing? Like, it's just something to do. And that's what I do, just writing me notes. Like, all these people are going to look back and think, fucking hell, he spoke to me the weird, or writing my name down. But like, it's just
we've all. I don't know if you. That's definitely what I used to do, mate. Because I've never been great with names. It was always faces for me. So as soon as I saw a face, then I would initially start to recognise faces. You write there. You have your chat to them, then you write their name down, write where you've seen them, what time you've seen them, and then you've got that kind of way in to go back and chat to them again, haven't you?
Yeah, well, you've got, and it worked, and went for the first 6 weeks or so. That's what I was doing, just approaching people, or at the end of classes, putting myself out there, just saying, hi guys. I remember like buying like, what was it now? At the time, that gym, they were getting a lot of kind of stock from brands as promotion and stuff like that. And I remember, I think it might have been DP or something that was doing one, and they put up a thing like in the staff room and that, and basically just scooped up the pile, went to my spin class, put it on the floor, did the spin class, said, right, anyone who wants and a staple to each DP packet, a business card, and just said, thank you for today's class, this and that. If you want to find me in the future, my name's Tom, and have a DP thing on me for your muscles and that, just something to give a bit of a bit of like extra
something
quality.
to take away a little bit.
Yeah, something to remember back. And it's all these little things that you learn, and it does make the difference between someone who wants a client to someone who's actually proactive and wants to help people. It might seem from what I've just said a bit staged, but it's not, because I do actually have an interest in the person. I want to get to know them and help them to a degree. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you have to do it. So I remember, dead quick. I remember being in the staff room, and this is when I'd worked there for a bit, and I had to show around a new lad just like the basics, like where to lock the doors, how to go around, set the alarms, whatever. And I remember, and he went, "All right, mate." He said, "When's payday?" And this is when I was at the thingy gym where obviously there's no payday. I was like, "You're joking?" He went, "Yeah, all right." He said, "It's 25 grand a year," something like that. I went, I was just like, "Oh, mate." I just thought, and it didn't last about 3 months, but
well, you wouldn't know, would you, if you've gone in there and you're thinking, "Oh, I've got a payday coming," and
listen, some say he's still waiting for his payday. I don't know.
still locking doors there now, mate. Still waiting.
But it's do you know what? They say that the lifespan of a PT is about 6 months or something like that, and they say that because it took me about 6 weeks to get a proper. I don't know if you say like a proper client, but like someone who would see me on a weekly basis, rather than just, give me that for one session and I don't hear from them again. So, and then it just kind of went from there. Like when it got to the point where I just couldn't juggle clients with my other work, and because you've got to think a lot of PTs actually do work other jobs, and I had really good PT at that gym. Guy worked at TGI's, and he was smashing it, like at the gym he was at. So there is a way, but the way I was doing it obviously would have been a bit of a conflict of interest. So it did get to a point where I thought, right, I've got to sack one of them off, basically. So I sacked off the paid job, took a bit of a lower income for a bit while I was about halfway there at the gym where I was self-employed, and just built it up from there, mate. Like literally.
What made you do that, mate? What made you go, you know what? Forget that now. This is what I'm solely going to focus on.
Truthfully, in short, I actually had a pretty big row with someone high up at the other gym. So that was one of the tipping points. And that was, in a way, not necessarily to do with the person. Like, our personalities conflicted a little bit, me and the other person. But, like, what happened was, it really opened up my eyes, because what happened was I was going through a bit at home, like kind of family member was really ill, and it took 2 weeks off, and it's a serious thing. It wasn't like a cold or nothing like that. And I remember I took 2 weeks off, and I come in for my first shift, and funnily enough, that the woman who was above me, that the kind of she was only covering anyway. She wasn't even a proper manager. She was like a temporary head of club, like whatever, club manager. And I remember, because she'd had a week off as well, whilst I was having 2 weeks off. And then I come back and she come back, and honestly, yeah, and obviously my head was messed up anyway, and it just bent me back. Like I think it must have been a day where, probably a bad day where like 2 members of staff phoning ill, like, you know, one of the pool chlorine things was a mess. They were always a mess anyway, but like it didn't, like stuff wasn't working, and then one of the instructors didn't turn up. I had to teach a class while I was running the club, and you know, stressed out me being, and then all of a sudden, like, she comes in, she's like, Tom, who's on the till? Or something like that. And I went, oh, sorry, you know, I've just come over to the office to do another job in management that needed doing, you know, all priority things. And she was like, she was like, how dare you leave that thing, the till, no one on the till and stuff like that. You could see the till was walking distance. And, you know, there's a lot, it was cameraed up a lot. Like, fair enough, yeah, I wasn't stood next to the till and no one was, but it's short, you know, arm robbers aren't running through any time soon, telling you now. So, like, and I remember she was sat there, and I was sat there, and I was fuming, and I was just like bubbling up, and I weren't even answering her. And then she went, Tom, look at me when I'm talking to you. And I was like, oh my God. I thought, no, she's not. And then she went, probably won't be personal, but she's like, so when is your mum going to get better? And then I went, and mum was seriously ill. And I just lost the plot and thought, oh, I can't do this. And if I'm having to deal with people like that, like in management, then I can't do this. So that was the tipping point where I just thought self-employed is the way to go. Like, you know, like you're your own boss. If you do need to cancel anything, obviously there's no sick pay, there's no, you know, if you have to move people around, you're not getting paid for days off or anything like that. But I think I respect my freedom more than working under someone for any amount of money. You offer me 100 grand, I still wouldn't do that job or whatever. Just wouldn't do it. So.
And was it as well the fact that the way you treat people, the way you support people within your PT business, that wasn't happening with somebody that you was literally supporting? Do you know what I mean? So to go through all that and deal with that, and then after, just take that on and think, you know what, I can do this on my own, and I can build something what everybody will be part of and enjoy being part of. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, when I guess the thing is though, like I have not, like, I won't get the piss took out of me. Like, I won't allow it to happen, but like, I can always understand people's perspectives. So like, yeah, her head was in a bad place. Now, I don't hold that to her. You know, we had a bit of a tiff and it made me quit the job. But like, you know, it's people's circumstances. But like, kind of what you were saying, I don't really treat people like that. And I just, that's kind of, yeah, I realised, I thought, you know what, PT, that's what I want to do. People, I'm going to be respected more. I'm going to be able to treat people how I want to be treated. And go from there, basically. And that's when I knew it was the line of work that I wanted to.
And that put you on the path to where you're getting to now, because of all that, you've looked at, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to take it, and then it took you back to, like, I'm talking because I know you, but then it took you back to that, this is what I'm doing it for, and the vision that you've got.
Yeah, of course.
You get what I mean? So how did you go from, my business has gone from picking up that client, really loving it, and the buzz off training that one client, to then building a really successful business, being the only rent PT in that place,
yeah.
And then looking at the facility, this is what I'm going to open. I want to open this. Talk us through how that come about.
Yeah, sorry, I keep waffling though, but like, let's get to what's happening. So, yeah, so when I was at the second gym, being self-employed and stuff like that, doing my way up, I was still doing the 15 hours a week with no overheads. Still doing that. And yeah, then it kind of got to the point where you need those 15-hour shifts, even though you could tell the management when you kind of wanted it. There was nothing kind of stopping them from going, well, actually, we need you on that one. And that would interrupt my PT schedule type thing. And I needed that freedom to be able to train people. And I was making enough to sack that off and be able to pay that rent, basically. So that's what I did. I just said, I want to pay the rent. The overhead was still, so thinking back to that option I had at the start with the other place, that overhead was like half the cost, even, no, actually, I think it might be a third of the cost of the top bracket rent at the first place. So still, it was a no-brainer. All I'd probably say is I was probably charging less than I would have done at the other gym. But the hours I was doing, I was able to pay that rent basically. So it was all right. So yeah, so after that, after kind of, I probably did a year on rent, maybe. Guess it might have been a year, maybe 10 months, something like that on rent. And that's when it got to a point where it was just the same thing every day. It was like, you know, I do my clients, and you know, as much as I loved it, I loved doing what I do. One thing that was the turning point of wanting my own place was, I didn't, as much as, you know, I got along with the staff at that place, there wasn't a good staff morale. And that was like with and I still didn't have that community sense that I wanted. I knew what I wanted from my job, and I wasn't getting it. I was getting it from my clients, but you know, in between clients, I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. You know what you like enjoy doing. It wasn't happening. Like in my head, I was like, this still isn't where I want to do. And I was having a chat with someone who actually has their own gym, a bigger gym, and he said the maximum amount you'll ever make at doing what you do now at the place you do it is X amount. And whereas I guess I'm a bit money motivated for, this can't be a long-term career if I do want to progress. Like it just can't. I can't be sat here doing this in 10 years' time. It's like I wanted the clients and I wanted to be doing that side, but I just knew I needed to progress and have my own take on something.
Kind of had that ambition for more a little bit. You wanted to try something else and
yeah,
put your stamp on.
Yeah, basically, because at the end of the day, you were making money, you know, directly from the clients, which was rewarding, because people aren't buying into the place that you're working at, they're buying into you, and that's actually quite a nice feeling, you know, like it's you know, people actually paying for you as a product, basically. So like, you know, your time is the product and your knowledge. So like but at the end of the day, you're doing that, but you're still wearing their uniform. It's like not you, still, like not you. You know, I wanted to turn up in my own gear with like my own stuff on and stuff. Couldn't do that. You know, there was still like a thing above me telling me what to do, kind of. You're left to your own accord a lot of the time, but there was still a bit of a hold on me, even though I was paying this rent and etc. So what happened then was I started to look at places. I had this idea in my head for private personal training. One thing, and when I used to speak to people about it, they would go, "You mad, you're crazy. Like, why would you open a gym with just you working at it? Like, why would you do that?" Because everyone's so tunnel visioned into commercial premises, like big outfits, big gyms, big everything. Like everyone's like, how can you make a good living out of a small gym? Well, obviously it's doable, but like people couldn't see that. So like when I was looking at a place, the reason why I started looking at private PT and doing my own thing was because a lot of my clients were female at the time. There was like maybe late 30s, 40s. And, you know, I think it's safe to say that when people come to you because they want to maybe lose weight, recover from an injury, you know, even put on muscle, whatever their goal is, they're doing it because to a degree, it will make them feel happier, or they think it will give them that sense of happiness when they achieve that goal. And it may even give them confidence. It may give them, in some cases, their life back. And the one thing that they didn't like doing was when I was training them at this gym, they didn't like being on show. Like, I'd probably go to say that 8 out of 10 clients were saying, "Can we go somewhere quiet?" Which at 5 o'clock in a commercial gym, you find me somewhere quiet, you're looking at like the utility room or something like that. You can't, like, there's no chance. Like, you know, you've got class going on in one corner, you've got fucking Big Al over there lifting his 50s. Like, there's nowhere you're going to train anyone quiet. So, like, it's that's when it kind of pinged in my head, and that for months I was like, I just need my own place. And, you know, I was talking to my old man about it. I was like, you know, it is going to be an investment, but as far as businesses got, it's not a big investment. Like, you think of these big multi-million-pound companies, they're lending millions just to put into a business that hopefully works. You know what? I only needed like 20k or something to make it work, and that really isn't a big investment. It's not life or death type thing. So, and that's where it kind of went from there. Really, I just started look as soon as clients were complaining that they wanted somewhere quieter. That's when I thought there's definitely a market in.
So, like the need for your clients became, it opened up like a doorway for you to say there's a niche there.
Yeah,
I've seen this many people are crying out for something like this, and I've looked all over this area, and there's no need, or there's nobody doing that.
no.
So how did you go about finding the spot where you're at now, coming up with the name, and building the brand what it is? How did that come about?
Right, so basically, I'm going to be dead real with you, to be fair. So obviously the first thing is money. You need capital to invest. Like, you know, you can't just go to an estate agent and start looking at things. So my mum kind of passed, and well, she did. My mum passed, and I kind of inherited a bit, not a lot, but enough to get me off the ground. And you know, a lot of people might look at that and say, well, they got it gifted to me, got it on a plate, but I didn't, because I could have gone and bought an RS3 and wrote it off. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it takes someone to take money and make money. Like, you know, if you...
Well, it's still a gamble, isn't it, mate?
It's a gamble at the end of the day.
You give money and you're investing it into something that might not take off because nobody else is doing it.
I could have gone to the bank and loaned it at a high percent interest, and then it not paid off. So, you know, it's... and probably even more so that it was my late mum's money, that it was more of a gamble, you know, to make it work. So I'm not going to feel like that and say for her, but to make it something of myself with that money. So then so when I started looking at premises, I remember speaking to my old man, and he said, I was showing him like this place, seeing it come up in Prestwich, and do you know what he said? He went, do you know what? You're not ready yet. He said, my dad's very optimistic and he's done well in business himself, but he said, you're just not ready yet. But the truth behind that was, he doesn't know my industry. So to a 68-year-old man who's sedentary, I'm showing him like small buildings and telling him there's going to be a fuck-off gym in there. And he was like, not a chance. Like, he just didn't get it, you know, and that's understandable. It's like me trying to go into his line of work and saying, that why you're spending X amount on, say, a watch, what he used to do back in the day. And, you know, it's hard to understand someone's kind of vision when it's not yours, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
you've got to have that confidence in yourself a little bit, haven't you, to say, like, I'm almost the expert, or I've got my own experiences and know that I can see what the outcome of this will be.
Yeah.
Because, like, we see it all the time. You do go and speak to your loved ones and you ask their opinions and you try and get insight and get their views on certain situations. But if they've not seen what you've seen, or maybe like you said there, they're not from your industry or your background, or got that vision. Because again, although like you say, your old man's done well in business, which is great, it's not been in your sector, so the understanding of it might not be there. And having that confidence, it sounds like having that confidence in yourself to say, right, I trust myself. I value this amount of money because there's an extra emotional connection to it, and I see what I can do here, and I understand it because I've already got the X amount of clients that are telling me that this is what they want and this is what they need.
Of course, and then it was just a matter of so show my dad that place. He was like, "Oh, you're not ready," but like I said, the motive behind saying I'm not ready was just because he was a bit here and there about it. And I said, come on, let's just go and view it. And I can like show you the vision. And I actually have got on my laptop. I wish I knew how to be dead clever and like put the pictures up on the screen and all that. But like,
Thank you for that, mate.
how do you do it? Tell me quick. Can you drag and drop it? Can I do that?
It probably won't work, mate. Go on, carry on.
So basically, I was like, I become in the head. I become like not obsessed. Well, you do become obsessed with what you want to achieve. And I become obsessed with it. And I'm not even like a dab hand on computers, but what I was doing was getting the picture of the advert for this place. Like, and I'd love to show it you, but it was just like an empty white room, basically. And I was dragging and dropping off Google Images kit, like and putting it where I want it, and you know, and I've got the pictures of like what the gym would look like in my head, like the sign on the back wall, like where the squat rack would be, what the flooring would be, what weights I wanted. Like I had everything there, and even to the point where I even have a picture of. I drove down to the picture of the front of the building, and then on like I think it's called Pages, made like the sign on the front of it and proper envisioned it. And I'm not one to be like, you know, you've got that book called The Secret and all that, where you like envision your whatever, like doing it before The Secret come out. Like I just encased my head in what I wanted to achieve. Type. I'm not going to go on and say I manifested it because, well, I guess you could say that, but like it did. I just basically obsessed myself with what I want to do, basically. So when I kind of showed my dad these pictures, I said, Dad, that's how it's going to look. I've spoke to all my clients, and they're saying if the place is shit up, they'll come with me, like they'll follow me, basically. And then that was where it's like, do you know what? Yeah, let's go and have a look at it. So when we was in there with the estate agent, I was saying, that's going there, that's going there, that's going there. And the estate agent said, so what is it you're putting in there? And said a gym. And he said, well, let me get back to the person who owns it, because it was like an agent, like they speak for the landlord. The landlord said, no, not a chance, you're not having a gym in here. Like, because straight away, people think gym, they think bloody steroid injections or meatheads, and like, I don't know how he even put that together in his head, but I think he just thought that it was going to be like just some steakhead gym, like in here type thing. So this was the lucky point really, because the landlord, we found out, did a bit of digging about, right, with the company who owned the premises, like the kind of holding company. And it turns out they were an old neighbour of ours. They live up in Hale now, like the cane in it. But like the guy, we got in touch with the guy's wife and said, do you know what? My dad said to the guy, he said, my son's been looking at one of your places and he's been told off the guy who runs your group that he doesn't want a gym in it. You know, can we just explain to you what's going in there? He said, yeah, no problem. He said, yeah, you can have it. So I was like, fuck for that. Like, didn't have to credit check or anything like that. Give rent up front and just went from there basically. So got the premises that I wanted. And that's when we just kind of started to look at that's when basically, because I wanted to open the gym. I started viewing this gym on July the 15th. And I didn't get keys to the 20th, and I needed to turn the gym round by the 1st of August. So then I could tell the gym I was at that I'm not paying another month here, so I could do a changeover like that and make it smooth as possible. Because the last thing I wanted to do was start paying rent on here and rent there, and I'm not even moved in here. Do you know what I'm saying? I wanted to turn the money over as quick as possible. So I had like a 10-day period to offload kit into the gym. So I had to like think, am I going to buy my kit second hand? Am I going to buy my kit brand new? Am I going to buy it outright? Am I going to lease it? What's the cost behind this? Because overheads isn't obviously just your rent, it's your liquor, your water, and you know, it's the business rates. Luckily, there's no business rates because it's a small business. But it's there's loads of things to take into consideration, and I only had 10 days to do it. So I was bombing around the country. I think it was somewhere in Leicester. And I was in this guy had a big fuck-off warehouse of like ex-commercial gym equipment. And I don't know how he even got hold of it. It must have been like one of these mad hoarders, you know, where they just have loads of shit. Guy had like more treadmills than like 20 gyms put together. I don't even get how he got that much gear, but he had like full sets of dumbbells up to 50 times 20. But like we was in there, and he was just saying, Craig, like, you start to realise when you're going around these places how expensive gym equipment is. Like, you think at the end of the day, that is just a bit of metal with a bit of rubber on the end. Like, it's not hard to manufacture, but because of its purpose, they bump the price up a bit. So, you know, if that was sold all separately as 2 kilograms of metal and rubber, you'd be paying 10 pence for it. But because it's a dumbbell, you're paying like, I don't know, this might be £3, £5 or something like that. But when you're buying a full dumbbell rack with the rack up to 40, you know, the 40 kilogram dumbbells themselves are like 90 quid each. So everything just adds up. So when I started seeing how expensive things were going to be, I was thinking, shit, like, this is why big firms lease equipment, because the the amount you have to invest in the kit is just astronomical. And this was second-hand kit I was looking at. I was thinking, shit. And I wanted it in my head. The vision that I put on paper was top quality equipment, you know, like really good brands. And that's when I thought, oh my God, like this is going to be hard work, this. Because I budgeted in my head, like I got say I inherited X amount. I didn't want to spend all of it on the gym. Like I just thought maybe I'll just put 5k into it, something like that. I don't know what I thought at the time. I just thought I was planning it and online and stuff, going off second-hand kit, and I was like, oh, it's only going to cost me $5,000. I'm laughing, and then it didn't.
It's that naivety, isn't it? A little bit like we were touching on it a little bit before we jumped on the podcast, but you can just feel a bit naive and not necessarily understand everything that's included. And I think if you do just jump on the internet and you can probably make a business plan in 10 minutes, but is that necessarily the reality that you're going to face? Is that taking all of these considerations into place, like even getting the kit from the warehouse to your gym, right? Like that's a cost in itself.
Costing that, yeah. There's cost in fucking everything, and then you've got like there's just costs everywhere. It's like I remember when I was flooring the bottom half of the gym, and I wanted a lifting platform, and this is in like another problem, because I'm not from like a building background or anything like that. But I remember when we had a guy in to quote me on the floor, the lifting platform, like the wooden thing to do squats and deads on and that. And the fellow went, I can't do a gym floor on this floor, because it's just, remember this building is just a shop front, you know, it's like this is where other costs come into it, because this building's just like an hairdresser's. That's what it used to be, something like that, like a solicitor's, I don't know, something like that. So this fella come in and he just said, I can't do a lifting, like a gym floor. And next he said, you'll go through the floor, because it's just floorboards. Like if you think of all these commercial gyms, the concrete floored. So that's the first problem we didn't count. Like I've just put a 6-month depot down on the building. I can't even lift weights in. So I was like, fuck, like what have I done type thing. So then we had to get QS in. We had to get a builder, stuff like that, and get the floor stronger, like so it can hold the weights. Because you think even without me lifting anything, I've got full set of bumper plates, full set of like weight tree weights. I've got full weights of dumbbells, 2 kilograms of 40. That's a ton on its own. So you've got to make sure the floor can actually hold the weight of the weights. And then it's another story when someone lifts the weight and drops it, if you know they're not going to go through the floor. So that was another delay. Remember, this is in 10 days. So luckily I had the people around me to get involved. You know, when I was asking these questions and getting the guy here, and straight away after that guy left, they had a QS who was a client in here looking at it, like saying, do you know what, we're going to get a building to do this. Had a guy that we knew managed to make the floor stronger. Again, it's not my background, so fuck knows how we did it, but it's obviously can do what it does now. And he said it's safe to go ahead and do. It ended up, me and my dad made the gym floor ourselves. We got quoted some astronomical, like 5k, something around that figure, to do the flooring and the platform. Turns out it's not a hard job to do at all. You know, when you kind of know. My dad's done a bit of building in his time and stuff, so we understood how to lay the flooring and stuff like that. Got some advice on someone that I know who has a gym anyway. And then the other part of it was getting the kit here and getting people to fit it and stuff like that. So, that was in 10 days, and it's not like it's hard enough to, and I was trying to choreograph that and have it open in time for clients to get here. And because originally this building, it used to be split it was in two. So the people who were here before had the other one next door. So there was a big fuck off hole in the wall, like there's a door. So that had to be sorted. And it was a bit tight, close and hit, but no, it pulled it off. And like when the next thing in my head, the kind of anxiety I was facing was, you know, you're taking clients out of a commercial gym that has every piece of equipment under the sun. Well, you know, a lot of equipment, you know, weights, slam, everything at your kind of disposable. And then I'm bringing them here, and it only takes one of them to come in here and go, this is shite. Like, you know, like it literally could have just walked in here and gone, what is this, a gym? Or if you just put a mat on it and a few weights and called it a gym, like, you know. it had to be what I envisioned it to be to pull it off, basically. And yeah, then fortunately, and obviously eternally grateful for it, everyone from the gym I was at just went boom, like that, and just kind of followed me, and it just went from there, basically. So.
Do you think the location of where you're at now versus like what was the difference between where you're at? Is it far from your old place of work, or how did that work? Was that something you took into consideration?
Yeah, do you know what? It works out perfectly, to be fair, because another one thing you need when you've got any kind of premises, depending on what you do, is parking. That's the main thing. You'd be surprised, if I didn't have parking, it does put people off. Like there's plenty of places I'll it might be just because I'm lazy, mainly like food places. And if like if I can't pull up, I just fuck this, I'll just go somewhere else, because and you've got to remember, these people are seeing you once, twice, 3 times a week, so it's got to be in a place that's safe, parking, and easy to get to, basically. So, and another great thing about the area is it's quite multicultural. It's quite a religious area. It's quite got a lot of Jewish people. It's got a lot of other religions and stuff like that. So there is already quite a community sense. So when I came on this row of shops, people didn't know what it was. Like when I was building it and like putting all the equipment in, people walking past and looking in like, what is it? Like the gym's here. Like what? Because it just didn't make any sense. And yeah, it is quite near where I used to work, to be fair. Probably get there about 5 minutes, but it's just a bit of a different area. It's quite affluent, and the great thing is where I am is you've got a motorway right nearby for people getting to and from. Literally opposite the gym, I've got Metrolink, so people commuting back from town if they live locally, and then it isn't actually hard to get to anyway. And you've got the parking.
There's quite a lot of things in there then that's almost made that the right premises for you, isn't it?
Yeah, and I didn't even realise at the time. Like when I come here, I remember someone inquired and they were like, "Oh, how do I get here?" And I said, "Yeah, just get off at Heaton Park Metrolink and walk down." Like I didn't even know there was a Metrolink at the bottom because I don't get them at. So then when someone walked down, they said, "You could have told me about Caval's next to your gym." I was like, "Oh shit, sorry." Like I didn't realise.
Like if you went back now and obviously the seat that you sat in now and were to speak to yourself looking at a premises, what sort of stuff is that all of the stuff you'd say to consider, or is there anything that you've learned and you'd think, right, I need to tell you about? Because you've mentioned there, obviously, looking at flooring, there's hidden costs in getting that repaired, going and getting the kit and the extra amount of money you've had to spend to get the kit that you want, and not just to tick the box that you've got the kit, like accessibility for members and clients, for them to be able to get there. And there's lots of things in there. Is there anything else that you think you'd probably sit there and say, right, this is something that stood out to me, and if I was to do it again, I'd tell myself this before I even looked at starting up? So
in the back of my head, like I don't know why I still think of it. I still have a vision of having a massive gym on like an industrial site. I just would really love a massive fuck-off gym just like a heaven of play, like a Gold's Gym, just with everything in it. That's like a kid's dream, though. So I guess if there's going to be another, sorry, this chair's creaking, but like if there's going to be another thing I kind of add is I would love to be on like an industrial site with roller shutter doors, and maybe a place that already came with like a concrete floor, so there wasn't that kind of bit at the beginning on whether or not I could actually have the weights in here and people could lift them. It would have been a lot easier. Maybe the facility to train outside as well, because that's one thing limiting it. Actually quite relevant to the situation at the moment. Obviously we've been granted with outdoor training, and there's not really a facility to do that where I am now, if you know what I'm saying. So because the parking at the front is on the road, can't do it out there. There is a kind of spot at the back, but it's not like uneven. It's like uneven ground and gravel. It's not what you kind of train on. So yeah, I guess in the future, if I was going to go on to say franchise and expand, it'd be looking at a premises that has that kind of outdoor facility as well. and maybe this is just me just kind of overthinking things, but obviously where this gym is, it's on a row of shops. Now, fortunately, between me and the other shop here, it's a tattoo studio, great set of lads. It's quite a thick wall in between, so they can't hear me shouting, yelling and playing music. But then on the other side, there is a bit of a thick wall. Unfortunately, there's not been a business there for about a year, so I've just been able to go on as I normally would. But like, they could hear like a say you have music like like that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I have to kind of watch it like that. And actually above me is offices. But to be fair, I operate between my working hours at 6 in the morning till 10 at night. And luckily, if that was residential upstairs, it would be a bit of a different story, because obviously I'd be playing music all the time, someone would be living there. Because it's offices, they work in the 9-5. And my peak times are like 6 in the morning till maybe 11 in the afternoon. Bit of a gap, maybe some day work nowadays, and then maybe 4 till 8, half 8 p.m. or whatever. So it's it's that there would be the other things to take into consideration. So,
it's good to see that the journey of the gym opening has now given you an idea of what the next step is, because I know earlier in the podcast you said that you're looking to expand, you're looking to open another one, and then you've talked about your dream, what would be like a Gold's gym. What's the future hold? What's the next step?
Oh, mate, I don't know if I can tell you this. No, basically, the future of the box, I'd say, there's a few avenues I'm looking down at the moment. And I've got to be truthful with myself if I'm actually ready, if I'm there yet. Because what I want to make sure I do is, I don't want to get too hasty, because I want to make sure I've mastered this as a product. I want to make sure that I'm maximising the hours in here. As you'll know yourselves from a personal training job, your kind of income, unless you have subscriptions and stuff like that, because obviously online PT is quite a big thing now. But if you can get like, I'm on about kind of physical personal training here. If you can maximise the outcome and how much you earn in this setting, basically, like you're maxing your hours out, you're doing everything you can, you're doing group personal trainings in to boost up the hourly rate, stuff like that. If you're doing everything you can, then I'll feel like I've mastered this product. And because I've actually got a full like setup, there's different avenues I can go down. So the first thing would be, even if I just kept the one place on its own, would be merchandise. Then you've got like online subscriptions. I've got a spare room in the back, enough I was to rent that out and go alongside someone doing, I don't know, maybe physio, cosmetics, massage, anything on a health body kind of wavelength type thing. So until I've kind of mastered this product and I'm happy with the outcome of how it's been, then I'd go on to the next step, which in my head I'd love to franchise this company. So I'd love to, my kind of vision is seeing boxes on like, not even in major cities would be nice, but where I'm positioned at the moment is great because it's on the outskirts of a major city, so people can commute and it's people who live in this area who do come here. And I feel like that's in a way had an advantage to gyms that are in the major city where there's a lot of competition, because I'm literally just like, I'd love to be, I don't really, this is the thing, this is in the next step, but if I was to say be in London, I'd want to be outside of London. Like, I don't really know places on the outside really, but I'd have to look into it, and that's where I picture myself, on the outskirts of every major city, just you know, in the more affluent areas. Like I was looking at going into, say, Alderley Edge, again, you know, on the outside of the city but the other side of town, and you know, you've got an affluent area, and you've got parking as well on some of the properties on the main strip and stuff like that. So it's just, that's my vision anyway, to franchise the company. But then it's going back to trusting people and making sure that people represent your brand. And the main problem I've kind of faced, and this is where in my head I'm facing like a constant battle, because, you know, people do, I'm not saying it's a new thing that people have private facilities and stuff like that, because people do. There's a fella doing it probably about 2 miles away in Whitefield doing the same thing, but near his house, not on like a row of shops. But it's in regards to where's going with this now? Yeah, I'm not saying it's like a new thing that I'm doing at all, but the franchise is a new thing. I mean, I went to a franchise exhibition at the NEC, I think it was maybe last year or the year before, and I was looking at all the kind of competitors and looking at what people do. So obviously you've got the UK's biggest franchise, McDonald's. They, to kind of replicate their model, obviously not with like bad food and that, but like in a gym perspective, there is people doing commercial gyms as a franchise, but there's no one doing private personal training studios as a franchise. So that is where there is still a gap in the market.
That's your USP, really.
Yeah.
And I was just going to ask to finish up with, is would that change? And you've pretty much answered it, mate. To be fair, it wouldn't change because that's the dream, that's the vision, and you can see that growing, and you having more around outskirts of major cities.
Yeah. So it's it's a vision at the moment, and it is something I want to do. But the where I was going now, the thing I'm trying to weigh up basically is when it comes to someone working in your place, it's whether do you have them on a self-employed basis, or do you have them on a wage basis, or do you have them on a wage with target basis? It's there's loads of avenues I could go down with personal training. Now, the one that's sticking in my head is that I franchise it out and let the person have the gym be on their own accord, and they just pay me, say. And I feel like if someone, and this is just from experience, and this goes for just noticing how people work, if someone is given the opportunity to work on a wage, they'll do what they need to do as the job, and maybe not any more than that. They'll do what they're asked of. But
if they're representing themselves within the business and the company, then you're going to get a better service for what you're trying to do.
You're going to get someone who's a lot more hungrier, a lot more willing to, who's more passionate about what they do, because they want to make it work themselves, And I feel like if I want people to, in my kind of business, in my vision, to appreciate clients and work with people the way I do, they're going to have to do it from some sort of self-employed basis, because that is where I found personally I've worked my hardest, when I've not been on a wage and when I've been pushed to do something I want to do. Do you know what I mean? So that's
the next steps. Best of luck with it, mate. Just to wrap up, we've got a couple of fun questions, so obviously we'll touch on those first. The first one that I've got just here for you is, what's the funniest joke that you know off by heart?
Funniest joke?
That's an horrible one, that.
Well, no, because do you know what? Someone told me a funny joke the other day, and I was dying from it, but I can't. Come on.
Can't be that funny then.
It was hilarious, but you don't. Wait, just give me a minute. It was something to do with. I wish I could have planned for this, because this joke.
That's why these are quick fire, because we don't want you to plan for it.
I'm quite a funny guy anyway, but like the chicken across the road is the best you're gonna get out of me, to be fair.
Have you got one?
No way. I can't remember it. I might come out of it in a minute, but
The one that always sticks in my head, and I don't even know why, because I'll just tell it here before I spoil it. But what is ET short for?
Don't know.
Because he's only got little legs.
Mate,
that's a proper dad joke, isn't it? That proper dad joke. Well, if you can't beat it, mate, if you're not going to beat it, then we'll stick with that one, won't we? Anyone got a better one?
No. Just I'll come out with it. I'll think about it in a minute. I think it was one of them Irishman, Scotsman, Englishman jokes. Like,
they're controversial. Then we'll move on to.
That's the one I was so that. Are we doing the dinner one, mate?
Yeah, go on then. Go for it.
What should we do? Should we do dinner guest or should we do meal? What do you reckon?
Let's go with guests.
Right. Three guests, mate. So they can be alive or dead. 3 guests that you want to sit with during a 3-course meal as dinner guests. Who would it be?
So we've got one's alive, one's dead, and one's
any 3.
All 3 of them can be dead if you want them to be.
Probably be a bit boring if they are, but
can they be like not made up people? Not like, can they be like a film character?
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Whoever you want.
Right, okay.
Harry Potter.
No, that can't stand it. I'd want to sit down at a meal with Leonardo DiCaprio and Wolf of Wall Street. Because
just get Jordan Belfort in there.
Jordan Belfort. There you go. Yeah. So it was a real person, but yeah, Jordan Belfort. Mate, I'd just love to just. I don't really like arrogance, but I just think that obviously is if the story. I know the story is probably over
exaggerated,
but I just think that there obviously is a scale of truth to a lot of it. And I just think it'd be a mint guy just to throw kind of ideas at and just see what he comes out with. So yeah, that's one of them. Number two. Probably Duncan Bannatyne. He's obviously in the leisure industry. And I'd love to probably bounce a few ideas off him. I probably want a bit of money out of him as well to put in. But no, it's on a serious note. Probably Duncan Bannatyne, because I think with him being in a similar industry, I'd love to kind of have a sit down with him. And I'd want to hear his life story. To be fair, I've read Peter Jones's, but I don't actually know his life story. So I'd love to have a chat about that. And then number three. Oh man. Trying to think now. What to have dinner with? No matter what you're having for dinner.
Doesn't matter.
Don't worry about that, mate.
I don't know.
Just gonna stick with the two.
No, I'm on a third guess. Yeah. Just a sec. I'd tell you what, as an inspiring person, I think he's quality. And I'm always watching his stuff. Is Anthony Joshua. I think he's just got a sick drive. No, do you know what? No offence to Anthony Joshua, he's not coming to tea.
Right, so you've chinned him off. So he's going to smash it. Who?
Kevin Hart, the comedian.
Good shout.
Yeah, if you watch that last documentary, obviously they made out to look good, but still his drive and ambition, and even though he messed up and he fucked up and that, he's just always working. And I just think the guy is a sicko. And obviously he's a funny guy as well. Like he's some comedians. Like I remember Lee Evans. I used to be obsessed with him. And I watch him back now, and I think this guy's just a sweaty guy. Like
we talked about him on the last.
Spoiling it. Lovely Evans, mate. He's class.
No, he's good. But I just don't get the same buzz. But with Kevin Hart, I've watched for a few years, and like I could switch on one of his things, his stand-ups tonight, and I'll laugh the same way as they did the first time. Like I don't know, it's just something about his humour. So yeah, we got the John Belfort. What did I say?
Duncan Bannatyne
in Kevin Hart. Yeah.
Amazing. Good little group, that mate. Good little group. So yeah, thanks for joining us, mate. It's been great to have you on. Really, really appreciate you taking time out your day. It's great to have a little bit of a look at your setup as well, and to hear how you've gone through your journey and where you're at and where you're looking to go. So really, really appreciate you jumping on. For all listeners, please do just jump on, hit the subscribe button. We are going to release our next episode, as always, weekly, and we look forward to catching you on there and seeing you all soon. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.